I gotta tell you, I think a lot of us have waited a while for them to do a reboot on this. And now I gotta tell you, me personally, I think it was worth watching. I don't think that there was definitely some room for improvement. It could have been a little bit more exciting, but I don't think it was anywhere near as bad as what a lot of the critics and the haters, for lack of a better term for now, make it out to be. Now, for the most part, this thing has average ratings of like 50 to 60%. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 67 at most. And then you have Internet Movie Database and Google reviews giving it, 50 to 60%. Cultured Vultures gave it the lowest rating. They gave it 30%. I got to tell you, there are some harsh reviews on this thing. The negative reviews are very harsh. Sad to say, I guess depending on who you ask, 95 to 99% of the negative reviews are absolutely trashing, and I mean trashing and burning alive Jamie Lynn Spears. I mean, they have ripped her apart. And no, but don't get me wrong, there's plenty of positive reviews on it too. So I'm going to get to those in a sec. Now, some of them I do remember off the top of my head, so I'll tell you, one of the negative reviews had said something along the lines of, well, the storyline could have been better had Zoey and Logan got married. Under what circumstance and at what... If anybody who knew the original show and understood 101, everybody knows. Everybody who watched 101 knows that there was never any type of possibility of that happening. It wasn't going to happen. Now, here's the synopsis. Keep in mind, 101, the original TV show, ran on Nickelodeon. Subsection Teen Nick ran from '05 to '08. This right here takes place 15 years after that. Zoey Brooks is still trying to figure out life and love, this time in her 20s. Zoey and Chase did not end up in Hawaii that summer and haven't heard from each other since. When close friends Quinn and Logan announce that they're getting married, I know, right? Zoey and Chase find themselves in the wedding party. Now, as I said, some of these reviews, let's get into a little bit of why some of the reviews on here were negative. What did people think about this, on the negative side? And then I'll get to the positive after that. So I'm not saying that this is negative. Again, I watched it. I liked it. I'll give it personally on a 1 to 10. I give it about a 7. I think that's about what it's worth right there. We're missing some of the original cast members, and we'll get into that in a bit. One person here said, boring and pointless. The storyline could have had so much more of the original cast, but instead they decided to mainly focus on Zoe's reality TV career tanking. Horrendous, but not surprising. Jamie Lynn's, wow, unbelievable. Jamie Lynn's face is what nightmares are made of. Want to have recurring nightmares for the rest of your life? Watch this or anything else having to do with Jamie Lynn. I mean, come on now. I get why people are upset at some of the stuff that she did or supposedly did on the set of the original. I'm going to get into that in another video. But, I mean, I don't think that that's tied to I don't know. And I'm still trying to process. It's not that I'm processing what happened in the movie. I'm just processing some of the reviews that I'm seeing right here. And I've seen horrible reviews on like many other types of shows and movies, but this right here, I mean, these people pulled no punches and they burned her alive, essentially. Very unwanted reboot. The fact that Dustin, Dana, Lola, excuse me, the fact that Dustin, Dana, Lola, Nicole wasn't in it made it not as good. You could tell the movie was rushed, very disappointing movie. The story about Dean Rivers stealing the PCA money was so off, and other stuff that didn't make sense. The movie was unnecessary. Nothing about this movie is a revival. All the characters are wrapped around Zoey, even though it's supposed to be about someone else, someone's wedding day. Unnecessary scenes that could be cut out with everyone still looking back at the good old age. Rushed and too many cliches. This might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my lifetime. The movie fails to resemble any nostalgia of the original TV show. Okay, now hold up a second. I halfway agree with that one. So, one of the biggest changes in character development that I noticed in this movie compared to the original was the character and personality of Logan Reese. And what do I mean by that? Well, we all remember in the original what a huge jerk And I'm saying that word nicely. That's the nice way of putting it. What a huge jerk he was in the original show. Well, he wasn't quite that in this one. He cleaned himself up a lot, got a lot more mature, still kind of not bright in certain ways, but a much better person in this one compared to 15 years ago. And the other piece of character development that I noticed that had a change was Quinn. Now, in the original, she was known for being this know-it-all. She was a brainiac. She was always tampering around with her inventions and creating these little scientific experiments. And she didn't really do that in this one. Now, she did have a slight brainiac moment. You know, she said something along the lines of, oh, did you know that this causes X, Y, Z? Or did you know? And that was it. So it touched on nostalgia just a little bit, but not as much as we thought it would. But that doesn't mean that I thought the movie was bad. Extremely disappointing. The acting was poor. I think the acting was all right. And I wouldn't mind that if the plot had been at least mediocre. Okay, I think that was kind of worded wrong, but I think I was trying to get the gist of what they were trying to say. The acting was horrible. I can see why Paul Butcher, who played Dustin, and Alexa Nicholas, who played Lola, didn't want to do this because they feel it would hurt their careers. The acting was that poor. Okay, there's a couple things I want to say about that. So, correction. Alexa Nicholas played Nicole, who, by the way, wasn't in here. Victoria Justice was the one who played Lola, also wasn't here. I don't think that was the reason why they didn't do this. Now, from what I understood, and from what I had read, Victoria Justice said that, one, she wasn't even notified about the production of this movie until, mid-production. It was almost done. So she kind of learned about it late, and she has other projects going on. She has many other good stuff out there, by the way. Excuse me. Check out Eye Candy. That's a good TV show with her, 10 episodes. And as far as Paul Butcher, I tried to look for something that showed that he, I couldn't find anything about him saying why he didn't want to do it or why he thought it was a bad idea. I don't know any of them who said, we're not going to do this because we know the acting's going to be poor. I don't think that had much to do with it. I don't think it really had anything to do with it. But I just wanted to throw that out there, correct them on who was playing who. We also missed a few other original characters. As I mentioned, we don't have Nicole, Dustin, Lola. We also don't have Dana. She was only there in the first season of the original, and I felt that she wasn't given enough screen time. So maybe it would have been a little bit better if a couple of them had been here. If it was me, I just would have thrown them all back in there and said, hey, let's just all get back together here. Just like that, all that reunion. I wish I could put 0 stars. It was badly written. It had horrible acting, and it was so cringy. It could have been so much better. Those who written the movie need to reevaluate their career choice. Okay, now here's one. It's sad that they have to make everything political these days. That made it horrible. I mean, along with the awful storyline, the fact that they made Jamie Lynn look like a clown. First of all, I didn't really catch anything in there that was political. I think there was one line where somebody mentioned something about student debt. But, I mean, by throwing that in, like say, hey, I owed this much, or I was trying... is that really that political? I know student debt is one of the biggest things talked about politically, but I don't know that there wasn't much of a focus on that. Right after that, I'm sure most people forgot that was even said in there. Again, I feel that this is just another instance where people are just looking for something to complain about. Just like I've heard ridiculous criticisms of Fast X or ridiculous criticisms of, some of the other movies that recently came out, whether it be, the Barbie or Scream or Creed or just whatever it may be, Megan, just anything you could list. Boring and pointless. I'm confused how this show is rated so highly on here. Clearly the reviews were very manipulated. The show is trash, and it literally has money-grubbing, evil, yuppie Jamie Lynn in it. Wish she would die in prison. Okay, now see, look, let me tell you this right now. I don't condone some of her actions or alleged actions from the past, but, and I've said this before on this show, and I say this when we talk politics, when we talk anything else, listen, for as much as I might have a negative feeling about somebody, for as much as I might despise them, or have an intense disliking of them, if that's the better way to put it. I mean, I think that wishing somebody death, isn't that a little far? Just a little bit? Isn't that a little far just to wish somebody death? Now, to want somebody to go to jail, that's different, depending on what they did or allegedly did. But I don't see what she should go to prison for. Uh, you know, what type of major felony was committed by her in real life? I mean, did she do something I don't know about? I mean, I could be wrong. Somebody tell me. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I felt that that's a little bit harsh there. Very unwanted reboot. Okay, that person already put that there. Was not good, rushed, bad acting, stereotyping, adding political beliefs in it. What political belief was added in it? Did anybody notice any political belief that was added in it? Did they mention anything about Democrats, Republicans? Did anybody say anything about, Biden, Trump? Like, was any of that mentioned in here or referenced? I don't know. You tell me. Now, let's get to a little bit more of the positive reviews. Let's get to 3, 4, 5 stars. Now, let's get to something that's a little bit more lighthearted, so to say. Zoey 102 is a movie that takes place many years after the series Zoey 101 ended, about the main character, Zoey Brooks, who is working on a love game show and so focused on her job when she gets a call from her best friend and former roommate, Quinn Dilson. Okay, again, correction. You either meant to say Quinn Pensky or Stacy Dilson, but, I mean, when you say Quinn Dilson, unless you meant to say her best friends and former roommates, Quinn Pensky and Stacy Dilson. I'm splitting hairs here a little bit, but I got what she meant. I think she just was referring to Quinn. She gets a big promotion and has to report to the big episode. Okay, they're just talking about the plot there. That's too long. I'm not going to waste too much on that. Positive reviews here. This was unexpectedly very good. I didn't have any expectations or hadn't seen any trailers, so went in completely blind to the plot. Sometimes these Nick movies can be too PG with an all-adult cast and themes that would have been a catastrophe if it stayed the same as the show. Genuinely interesting plot with the way Zoey did Chase so dirty, added so much depth to both their characters. Nostalgia is obviously going to play a massive role here, but it outlived any expectation I had going in. Luckily, it's mainly just a throwaway line. The campus is restored in a minute of screen time. Still very weird choice. So, and this movie, by the way, is available to watch on Paramount Plus. As many of you already know, this is a Paramount original due to the fact that the original was a Nickelodeon show. Of course, Nickelodeon is owned by Paramount Pictures. That's who distributes with them, and that's who they have the contract with, so that's where it's going to go. And let's get into who the casts are. Of course, you had many of the original members reprising their roles. Of course, Jamie Lynn Spears is Zoey Brooks. You have Quinn Pensky, played by Aaron Sanders. Matthew Underwood is Logan Reese. Chase Matthews, played by Sean Flynn. Michael Barrett by Christopher Massey. And as I stated earlier, Victoria Justice, Kristen Herrera, Paul Butcher, Alexa Nicholas did not reprise their roles as, Lola, Dana, Dustin, and Nicole, respectively. And we've talked about some of the reasons why they didn't join the show. Some of them, they had other things going on, or one just said, hey, I'm busy with other things. This person got married, had a kid. This person didn't know about it. This person still never clarified. Congratulations and good job to all the people who put this movie together and good cast members who basically made it a good movie. It could have been better, but it wasn't the worst thing. And anybody who watched the original show, I think this is well worth a watch. And I think that it does bring a little bit of nostalgia because there is a mention of PCA. Of course, it doesn't take place right there, but it still takes place in California, I believe. Yeah, it is in California. So I don't know that there's much more to add to this. Check some other more reviews. One person here said too much sex. Okay, there was no sex in the movie, so I don't know where that came from. I don't know. People are just making up stuff now. And then this one, also, there's one article that asks the question of, should this be a TV show? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the other monitor and I'm dragging the window over here. I probably should have been here already. We're calling it Zoey 102 needs to become a series ASAP. This was posted by Jail Rucker in 1:37 p.m. We're not sure where Jamie Lynn Spears has been in our comedic lives, but she needs to be in it way more often. In case you haven't heard, the beloved Nickelodeon series Zoey 101 is in full reboot form with 102, and it's a pleasant surprise in a new direction. While it has admittedly been a long time, Zoey 101 was a part of our regular millennial lives. We don't call Zoey 101 being this funny. Call it a 1990s babies, 2000s tween thing, but Jamie Lynn Spears has that old school comedic quirkiness and timing that's very old school Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz-esque. The conclusion of our Zoey 102 review is clear. This needs to become a series. Well, you know what? I'm not against that. I'm saying I'm down. If they end up making it a series, of course I'll watch it. And to anybody who, if you don't want to continue to disappoint yourselves from the ones who really, really hated this movie, if they do make it a series, then I would just not watch it. I just wouldn't. Now, in some of my other videos that I'm going to do later on, I will get into why Alexa Nicholas ended up leaving the original show and why she wasn't in this one, because to talk about that is at least another hour, and I don't have that type of time in this particular segment, so I will be closing this one out in a bit. So other than that, I thought it was worth it. And I suggest check it out. It's available to watch on Paramount Plus.